Self-Awareness Part 2. Welcome to another morning. And today I wanted to continue on my conversation that I had the other day about self-awareness and the importance of it when you're trying to create your best self or your best life, or both. The importance of it is basically self-awareness. In the process of becoming your best self, it is basically the first step. Sort of like in any type of recovery program where the first step would be to admit that you have a problem. Self-awareness is sort of the same thing. Self-awareness can be multiple different things, and a lot of the times it is being self-aware enough to know areas in your life that you're having problems, or areas in your life where you're repeating similar or same patterns that are resulting in negative results, or being self-aware of a certain personality trait that you might have that isn't working in your benefit. But the first step, of course, is being self-aware enough to recognize it in the first place. Because if you don't recognize it, or you don't admit that you have a problem, how are you supposed to now fix it? And the reason why this is so important, obviously, is because to become our best selves or to live our best lives, we need to eliminate, or at least try to work towards eliminating, any areas of our life that just simply aren't working. It can be hard to take a look, an honest look at ourselves and, really pinpoint and pick out the areas where we're not doing so good, personality-wise, emotionally-wise, in our relationships or patterns and behaviors that we might have that aren't serving us. And sometimes it takes real authentic self-awareness, a real hard look at where we might have been going wrong all these years. But I don't look at it like that. I look at it like it's empowering to know and to realize and to be able to now work towards bettering those areas of my life. Instead of looking at it like I'm doing something wrong, or I'm a bad person, or how could I have been doing it like that my whole life, I take it as, okay, now I'm equipped with this knowledge and awareness. Now I can do something about it. So I turn it around into a positive thing, an empowering thing. It doesn't have to be negative, because honestly, even if your journey of personal development, personal growth is just starting now is better than never, right? I would rather be open and aware now than never, or than 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, right? That's okay. I can forgive myself for having negative patterns, beliefs, behaviors, and emotional IQ, or emotional, EQ, before this, because if I'm not aware of something, then I am ignorant to it, and therefore I can't fix it. And that's fine. Up until, recently, there was a lot of things that I was ignorant to, and that's okay. There's no better time than the present, and we're looking forward and ahead, not backwards. I am not looking back. I'm looking forward to my bright and brilliant future, and that is why I created this channel, to help you start to move towards your bright and beautiful future. It awaits you. But again, it starts with being self-aware. It is the first step in this journey. So, how do you become more self-aware? Well, there's a few different techniques that you can use to become more self-aware, and the first one would be to really start to pay attention. Pay attention to times when you become very emotional in conversations or in your relationships, and when you find yourself reacting, intensely, maybe write that down. Stop and think about it in the evening and write it down. Write down what the situation was, what the trigger points were. Maybe try to delve into why maybe it made you feel that way and maybe why you reacted that way. But every time something like that arises, just write it down, and then later you can look back and see if there's any correlations. And that's kind of, you know, the little detective aspect of it. You're going to have to, you know, dig a little deeper and see, okay, so if these are all correlating, what do they have in common? And how can I start to work on fixing the issue behind it? How can I start to heal from maybe a past wound that is causing me to react in such a way in these specific situations? You could also just keep a journal when you notice any, you know, any issues in your life. So any kind of issue that arises, and especially the ones that are reoccurring. I would definitely write those down and do the exact same process where you're correlating and kind of seeing why, like where is this stemming from, and digging a little bit deeper, right? But the main thing is just to be more aware on a daily basis when you're talking, when you're interacting, when you're feeling intensely, just being more self-aware during the day and navigating your way through that instead of just living on autopilot and reacting and not really thinking twice about why. The other way that you can also do this is you could try an activity where you sit down with a close friend, an honest friend, a friend that will not bullshit you, and have them maybe point out some of your blind spots, because as humans we tend to have blind spots. There's personality traits that we might have, positive or negative, that we are blind to. This could be like, say at work, you're a micromanager and you have no idea you're doing it, but all your fellow employees are like, ugh, you know, she's always micromanaging and it's just so annoying. But maybe you don't even realize you're doing it. It just comes naturally to you, and you've been doing that on autopilot for so long that you didn't even realize you were doing it. Well, you might have someone that brings that forth to you and it might be a shock. But wouldn't it be good to know? Because then you can kind of work on that aspect of yourself so that maybe you're not upsetting your fellow employees as much as you are. Or it could be a similar situation, but in your friendships, right? You could be doing something in your friendships that, in all areas of all your friendships, and you're not even realizing that you're doing it, and it's upsetting your friends, but they don't want to say anything. And this is why it's important to sit down with a friend that you really trust their opinion and you trust that they will tell you the truth, because it's good to know your positive qualities that they see in you, but it's also good to be aware of maybe the not so positive ones, because then you can work on them. For me, I know that if I sat down with my best friend, she would probably say the fact that since I've been sober, I've been a lot more impatient. That is something that we've actually talked about a few times. It's something that I am aware of and that I am working on. But if I wasn't made aware of it in the first place, and I was just, you know, being impatient on autopilot, and because it comes so naturally to me, and if she never told me, I would never be able to work on it. So this is something that I'm actively working on to become a better version of me, because the last thing I want is for my friends to feel uneasy around me when things are hectic, because I am impatient and grumpy, and I know I can be, but again, I'm aware of it now so I can work on it. Other areas of your life that would be really good to be more self-aware is to really narrow down your values. I spoke about this in the last video, but narrowing your values in your life so that you can look to see which areas could use some improvement. Okay, like I was saying in the last video, maybe you value freedom, maybe you value community and connection, maybe you value giving back. Well, what if you are working 70 hours a week and you barely have any time for your friends or family, let alone time to volunteer and give back in the way that is meaningful to you. Well, my friend, once you sit down with those values right in front of you in your face, clear as day, it's a lot harder to deny them. And it really makes you have to sit back and look at your life and what areas can use some improvement. And if that is your case, then I would say you probably need to look at your job and the amount of hours it is asking of you and see if there's any way you can improve on that, because you are completely out of balance from what your true, authentic heart's desires are, which is your values, essentially. Because you're spending all your time at work, you're definitely not having the freedom that you desire, and you're lacking that sense of community because you're always working, so you can't really focus on your family and friends. And again, you don't really have time to volunteer and give back in the way that you would like because you're so busy working. So you might need to take a good look at your employment and figure out in which ways you can start to put balance back into your life. Yeah, so those are just a few ways that you can become more self-aware, and some of the areas in your life that you should really take a look at that are very important and crucial so that you can start to become your best self and live your best life, which is what we're all about here on Girl Don't Settle. I'm all about learning and growing and sharing what I learn with you so that we can together build our bright, brilliant, and beautiful futures and really go on to live our best lives as our best selves. I hope you have a beautiful day. You so deserve it. And don't forget to like this video if you liked the content, and subscribe if you love to learn all about personal development, personal growth, and be empowered and encouraged to live your best life. But also come join us on my private Facebook group called Girl Don't Settle. Girl Don't Settle. We're waiting for you there. Have a great day. Bye.